What's happening? What's happening, my people? How are you doing? It's Melissa T, the procrastination bully. Welcome to another live edition, a Thursday live edition of the Activated Author. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you. Yeah, so in this Thursday live edition, as you likely saw in the post, we're diving into something that a lot of authors run into, which is supposedly, I say supposedly, the infamous writer's block. If you checked out my episode yesterday, I did a deep dive into it. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of it, like a quick review, I should say, for those who didn't get the chance to watch the episode yesterday. But there were five things, like five sources and five solutions regarding writer's block. One, it's likely a misdiagnosis because it's usually a result of something else that's going on. Sometimes it is a result of fear, a result of exhaustion, a result of perfectionism, and that sort of fear of failure, that kind of thing. And the key there with that first one is to call out what is actually the deep the deep thing that's bugging you and then address that. That way you're not just saying it's writer's block when it could in fact be something else that you can address and resolve. Okay. Writer's block is very nebulous. You'll think that that's more of a creativity issue when it might not be. One of the next things I discussed yesterday was the trauma part. Like if you're in the midst of working on your manuscript and you've gotten to that part of your manuscript where you're retelling the story of your trauma or major transition. And I said that part could actually be a nervous system thing. So again, it may not be a writer's block thing, it might be a nervous system issue. Okay. In which case, I gave some solutions in terms of calming the nervous system down, including what I'm demonstrating right now: hugging yourself, releasing oxytocin. That helps the body to regulate, because the key is to get your body regulated, your nervous system regulated, so that your prefrontal cortex can take the steering wheel again. Okay. So it could be a nervous system issue. It could be one of those other ones I mentioned: um, fear, exhaustion, or like not feeling like you don't have enough time, perfectionism, you trying to double, triple, quadruple check stuff, and it may not need all that. And to that point about perfectionism, one of the other things I mentioned yesterday, one of the other parts of the five is the draft doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be. It just has to exist. Okay. So the goal, the priority is to make sure everything gets on the page. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's what you have us editors for. Okay. That's why you hire us. We do the fun stuff of cleaning everything up. So if you're worried about the that first draft being perfect, banish that thought. Just get everything on the page. Okay. Here's another thing I want to kind of touch on. I mentioned the nervous system thing, right? There is a difference between a creative block and an emotional one. So, in the same way that first part I said, writer's block can be a misdiagnosis, this is akin to that too. There could be a difference between a creative block and an emotional one. One of my clients, shout out to Cecilia McMorris, when she first started working on her book, and I had walked her through the F5 framework. She was someone who not only participated in the voice fuel writing workshop that I used to hold every month, but she also participated in the Truth to Transformation boot camp, and that was back when it was a month long. The boot camp is now 21 days. She participated in the very first one, which was a month long. So that started the process for her book. But in the foundation step, when she was ideating, she found herself getting stuck because she's someone who is very detail oriented, but also is a pilot. So she moves fast. So there was a bit of a clash going on. For her, it was a creative block. She just needed some clarification on how to do what I like to call a word web. For her, her mind didn't quite work with the bubbles in terms of a word web. She did what I now dub a word waterfall, and that was helpful for her visually. Instead of having the main idea in the middle with bubbles around it and then like branches and bubbles around that, she instead did main idea here with a bunch of post-its, like main idea up here, and then like a almost like a hierarchy chart, like the related ideas came down underneath that, and then it was columns of respective ideas that became chapters. So she and I had talked through that. That got her unstuck, and now she's off to the races. It is, as of this live stream, June 11th. She said her rough draft will be done by June 15th. Y'all, I am over the moon excited. Okay. Over the moon excited for my sis. All right. Absolutely. So tonight's call, the purpose of tonight's call is to offer any live coaching. If you've got your book that you're working on, by all means, let's talk about it. Like bring your manuscript. Let's talk about what's got you stuck. And in the meantime, while you're bringing, your questions, your curiosities, your frustrations, whatever the case may be, I also invited a few other fellow authors who are either in the midst of their rough draft or have completed and published their books to share their stories and their encounters with writer's block, if any at all. Shout out to Ms. Rosalie. Good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Always appreciate your support. Always appreciate your support. And so far, we got a good lineup so far, y'all. Like tonight's conversation about to be real good. I'm so excited to bring my sisters on. But before I bring on the first guest, I want to talk about one more thing that I covered yesterday, which is the write around. So if you're in a part of your manuscript right now where you feel stuck, like you just have this resistance that you cannot explain, recall what this thing is that you intended to write about. Was it the deepest part of the trauma or the most emotional part of the transition? Or is this just a memory you just don't want to revisit? Even if it's not the trauma or the transition, maybe this is just a memory you don't want to revisit, or maybe this is a piece of exposition that it's not engaging your mind right now. Go back to your outline, find what comes before or after this thing that's got you stuck, and go around it. Like focus on that thing, either the topic that comes before what's got you stuck or what comes after. Because the goal with this is beating the initial inertia to get started. Like this isn't writer's block, this is simply a block. It can be emotional, it can be creative, it can be neurochemical. Remember the nervous system. It can be psychological. Like I said, the fear, the perfectionism, you feel like you ain't got enough time, the impatience, all of these things. I got you. So, given the wonderful message I just got from one of my sisters, I'm going to change the order of who I was going to bring on first. So, real quick, if you could turn your camera on, by the way, Miss Shamika Askew.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Super excited to see you. Thank you so much for coming through. I know
Absolutely, my pleasure.
you got a hard stop. I wanted to bring you on, Shamika, because you had mentioned, during one of our conversations in the mastermind about talking through trauma while writing your book, because your book was about divorce, and you
hmm
were saying like there was a point where you had to pause
hmm
your writing process. So
Yes,
it's like let our audience know what that was like for you and what you did to kind of get back on track to finish the book.
absolutely. So, for the individuals who have a book that's inside of them, a lot of us do. We know we need to birth that book. Sometimes, whatever the story that we're telling, it brings back memories. So, with
Hmm.
mine, although the book was about my divorce and helping people overcome a divorce, it actually brought up childhood trauma that I did not recognize I needed to get healing from. And so it made me recognize that I needed to pause because it was actually too painful to keep writing. And I didn't feel like it would be fair to the readers of the book for me to be in that space in writing because I believe that you can feel that. So I paused and I actually sought therapy. And when we spoke during one of the podcasts, I believe I called it one particular type of therapy, but it was actually art therapy that I went through that helped me overcome that writing block trauma. And it really was like up from there.
Oh, that's good. I like that you were able to recognize, oh, pause. I
Hmm.
actually need therapy to unpack this thing
Yes.
for sure, which is powerful. One of our other sisters that's actually waiting backstage is a therapist, our
Hmm.
lovely sister Dana Bell. And say something, Shamika, like she kept it real with our attendees during the author activation weekend because she presented on Thursday night. She said, hey, she spoke exactly what you did in your process, which is if there is something that is unprocessed, don't write the book yet. Like
Mm,
get the help you need, get the counseling you need, work through that first, then come back to it, or then
absolutely.
write the book. You know what I mean? So I love that you recognize that you needed to unpack that first
Hmm.
and then come back to it.
And I
Um,
promise you, after I did that, it went so smoothly. Literally,
awesome.
like the chapters just came literally just word after word. Holy Spirit helped me a lot. And it was published not too long after the therapy session.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, do you remember like the time window between when you decided to stop to seek therapy and when you picked it up again?
It literally was in the same month.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So I went to therapy. It was in the fall of 2024. And my book was published by my birthday, December 7th, 2024. And the manuscript had been completed prior to that. I was just waiting for the publisher to do that process of it. So I would say probably within weeks of that art art session, the accelerated resolution therapy, the book was published within weeks, or it was done within weeks. The manuscript was done.
That's beautiful. Awesome.
So yeah.
Before you gotta jump, just is there additional in addition to what you shared here in terms of getting therapy,
Mhm.
do you have any additional recommendations for people who are like feeling stuck right now?
You know, I heard someone say, and you and I were in a challenge together, a live stream challenge, and this well known guru had mentioned that people don't have writer's block. They're actually afraid that they won't sell their book.
That
And
part.
I honestly can agree with that because I think part of it is the fear of what if I don't impact the lives like I would desire to? What if no one picks up the book, etc. So
Mhm.
if you just change your mindset and say, what if a lot of people, thousands of people actually find me in this book and I impact the lives? So yeah, I would have to agree with that mindset, mind shift change, and that it's just a belief. And which one are you going to believe, the negative or the positive?
Exactly. Very well said. Shamika T Askew, thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having
Um,
me. I appreciate it.
no problem. Y'all look her up on Amazon. Her book is available on Amazon if you guys want to learn more about her. Her name is on the screen. So by all means, take a look at her book. But Shamika,
Thank,
thank you so much.
thank you. I appreciate you.
No problem. All right. So up next, I want to bring in my first sister. Shout out to Miss Unique Dixon. Just put on your camera there, sis, if you're if you're nearby. But Unique is someone who is in process right now. Like she's in the process of writing her book. So thanks for joining me. Like let
Of
us know what your
course.
process is because you mentioned like you're actually experiencing a little bit of block. So let's talk through it.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good, good, good. So, yeah, I'm experiencing a block. Essentially like what was just shared as I'm revisiting parts of my story in this book. I'm essentially like re-traumatizing myself. And as somebody that has been to therapy and all of that stuff, I realized like some of that stuff it still stings.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how many sessions you do. So I think because my work is so heavy, I'm I'm essentially just giving myself some grace in between it and not like trauma dumping on myself.
Right.
Um Yeah, and another thing is me just trying to make it make sense, because it's not about me getting my story out there. It's about helping someone. So I think weaving that in and bringing it back to the reader is what's important, because I don't want to just have another trauma dump.
Right. For sure,
Mhm.
for sure. Did some of what I was sharing earlier make sense to you in terms of like the practical tips with the like the nervous system, bringing that back down, or like writing around it instead of simply like staying in the feeling? Did some of that make sense? Do we need to unpack any of
Yes,
that?
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And also just not going on that emotional tangent, just dwelling and digging and waxing deep and getting so tied to the emotion and focusing on the product
Mhm.
instead of getting caught up in that. But yeah, since like you said, moving around, what are some other parts I can work on? So something that I'm incorporating in my book is research. So I still just, instead of me focusing on my book, um I mean, it's tied to the book, but instead of me staying in the story, I'm like looking up different research and stuff like that to add to the book, so I could kind of move around, like you said, right around.
For sure. But I like that you actually use that phrase move around because that sometimes that can help too. Like we need to get up sometimes. You know what I mean?
Like,
Like
hey, mama, I
changing our
see you too, mama.
yeah. Shout out to Mama T. Yeah, like Tony Robbins would be the first to tell you, like changing your physiology changes your state. So like even if you are in the midst of the thing, in the midst of the memory as you're writing, physically extricating yourself for a minute and changing what you're doing makes a world of difference. We're part of a couple of us are part of APOP Ministries women's the women's ministry came back, so they now have prayer calls every Wednesday, and they have a Telegram group. And one of the ladies in there shared a tool or a tip about sticking your tongue out for. She said about 20 minutes. I'm like, dang, that's long. But her point there, though, I understood what she was sharing. So then I added to her comment. I replied to her and I said, I get exactly what you mean. Because another tactic is to glue, like put your tongue to the roof of your mouth for an
Hmm.
extended period of time. And the reason those work is that it uses a different part of the brain than the part of you that is caught up in the feeling and the experience. So it forces you back to present. Like it brings you back to where you actually are instead of being stuck in the past there. So yeah, glad some of
That
this
makes a
made
lot of
sense.
sense.
Yeah. Do you have
Yeah,
any additional
move the muscle,
questions?
change the thoughts. Move the muscle,
Yeah.
change the
Yeah.
thought. So for me, as I've been building, I think I have completely because you provided me with the mind map, right? But the way that my brain functions is the mind map. I've completely switched gears. It's like
Yeah.
it did what it needed to do at the time, but it, because I find my book evolving even more as I'm writing, and I'm just like, oh wow, this is totally going in a different direction. And specifically now that I'm kind of niching down to figure out the why am I putting this out there, because I think that's more important than anything is the why. Like you don't want to just put it out there because it's in you. You want to at least you want it to do what it's supposed to do. So yeah, and thank you. Another part that you shared recently just a moment ago was the fact that it's up to the editor. Like I don't have to try to sit here and go in, and that's the thing. I keep coming up. I don't. Oh Lord, if I could tell you how many times I done started up chapter one, chapter one, chapter one, chapter one, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just keep trying to. But essentially, it's done. I do have to go back in and make it more aligned with the theme of the book, and also include that research to provide the evidence to support it. Because I see the screen says peer certified peer recovery specialist. However, now I am a master social worker, and I know the importance of having evidence to support your claim. So Yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Appreciate that. I like it. I prefer to update that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That is dope. I love it. Because here's the thing, I couldn't keep up with all your letters. You have a lot of them. Okay. Like
Yeah,
you have earned a great many credentials. And I'm like,
thank
sis,
you.
I can't keep up. It's a lot. So yes, y'all, master social work. Okay. She just got her degree, had the pate at the end of May, which I was so super proud of you with that. That was dope.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you have any additional questions, you know how to find me. I'm happy to answer them. Thanks for
I will
coming through.
do. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. So next, I have got the one and only Dana Bell. Dana and Bell. Dana, what's going on? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, I wanted to make sure to bring you back on because we kind of briefly talked
Hmm.
about your author process when I had you on the podcast,
Okay.
but I would love to talk about this part, like for you, because yours is slightly different. Like it wasn't a memoir you were writing.
Right.
Yours was like a 30-day, you know what I mean? A nice thin book. But did you encounter the phenomenon of writer's block? Or like did you ever get stuck in your process? And if so, how did you overcome it?
The well, I did not get stuck in the creation of it. I got stuck in the execution of sales.
Okay.
So basically, what you said, it was not a creative block at all. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. It was just me putting it together and writing it out. But the part of because again, I tell people this all the time. I come from a school of you have to have an agent and a manager and an editor and a publisher before you sell a book. So
Mm-hmm.
the time frame that I was working in, it's like, but wait a minute, no, you just went through COVID and you saw some 10-year-olds and some 20-year-olds doing their thing, whatever their thing was. They didn't ask for permission. So that is where I was stuck. So mine was much more emotional. I already know that. Going through some things. My dad had passed. I started graduate school. It was just a lot of different things. So I wasn't focusing on it. And so as far as the creative part, no blocks. Emotional, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I
Wow.
recognized it. I
Okay.
did. I didn't blame any other entity or power. It was me. And so, but like I said, COVID helped me kick it on out and just do it and
Mm,
stick with it and walk through the pains of creating this thing for the world to see.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. By the way, shout out to Afia who is watching us on Instagram. What's up, sis?
Oh, okay. Hi,
um,
Avia. I miss you.
right? I keep telling her like we missed her. Afia, if you can hear me, like I know you published your book not too long ago. So if you ever encountered writer's block on your end, feel free to type that in the chat because I would love to hear what your
Mhm.
experience was with it, if
Right.
you encountered it, and then how you overcame it. She said, "Miss y'all too." um, what would you recommend, in addition to what I shared
Hmm.
earlier, that you shared during the author activation weekend? In addition to like pausing to unpack some stuff, if you realize that you still have some things to unpack,
Right.
like go get therapy to unpack that stuff.
Hmm.
What additional recommendations would you make for any authors that find themselves stuck or in a delay in terms
Okay.
of finishing a manuscript?
Sure. So I, like you said, with my clients, I want them to be as honest and true to themselves first, understanding who they are. So just be real with yourself. When you think about writing, especially when you're writing about your trauma or some very intense experiences that you have had in the past in your relationships, if you have not processed that hurt and the disconnect, the miscommunications, the parts that were your fault, if you will, and if you haven't been, you know, forgiving in those spaces, you do have to step back from the writing because it is going to come up. Those feelings, the thoughts that you have about those emotions are definitely going to be in your writing. And I just suggest get a therapist so that they can help you walk down that path while you're trying to explain. You want for us to understand your hurt, your thoughts, your joy in whatever took place. So that means you are, in a sense, kind of reliving it because you're back in that space. So yes, therapy is the best way to go, and or pull yourself away from it for a moment. You don't have to write a book, you know, straight 30 days. If it's too much for you, okay, take a couple of days off, then go back. And you don't have to write 5 chapters at once. You can write a couple of pages. It's your book, it's your manuscript. You can write a couple of pages unless you under contract and somebody say, yeah, we're going to need this in 90 days. That's a little different.
Yeah. And the one drum that I constantly beat is the voice recording thing. Like that's really that's a cheat code in terms of speed. Like a lot of us talk faster than we type. So
Right.
by all means, you use your devices.
And think
so.
you think at a faster pace sometimes too. Your hands and your thoughts, they're not going together.
That part.
Right? You get that at work when you're trying to pull out those reports. So just be gentle with yourself as you create. That's the I used to think about sculptors. They're not rushing. They're taking their time, and there's, you know, they smoothing it out. So same thing for your writing. Take your time. Just pour it out a little bit at a time.
Absolutely. I like that. Be kind to yourself. And I notice that's something you say very often, which I really appreciate, you know, like that reminder. Like it's okay. You're a human being. It's okay. Like you're experiencing life, you're learning as you go. You have all the responsibilities. Right. You know, you got the job, you've got the family, you've got the extracurriculars, if you do any extracurriculars, like if you're out in the community or that sort of thing, if you have a side hustle or an actual business, like you got the LLC and like taxes on the business, and you still got like, trust me, you have a lot going on. So don't.
And you need to be good to yourself. You want other people to show you grace and be kind to you and loving to you, but are you loving towards yourself? Are you gentle? Do you give yourself grace? Do you give yourself space? So, yes, I'm a firm believer in being good to yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate, you know, you coming
You're
on.
welcome. Yes.
Absolutely.
You caught me like right at a perfect time. I was like, oh, look at her with her time. And okay, Jesus, I'm getting on. I'm going to get on. Because look, I was thinking about a shower in the bed, right? I'm like, oh, all right, look at sis. She helping folks get that word out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you for thinking of me.
Oh, absolutely. Always. So y'all heard her name is on the screen. Yeah. Look her up on Amazon. Your book is on Amazon, correct? Or is it strictly on your website?
On my website. Yep. Okay. talkwithdanabell.com.
So there you go. Y'all see her name up there, so that way you can take a look.
Right.
Here. Now I saw what you were saying in the chat about the platform. This thing is helpful. Like it's pretty cool. Like you can do a lot in real time.
I see. I'm like, look at this. Look, I already have some mountains to climb. However, I'm like, look, this look like it might be fun.
Yes, indeed. This is one of them. Fortunately, it's not the only one, because I will tell you it's a pretty penny. But I've worked with it before and I know how intuitive it is. So I chose to go back to it. But yeah, thank you so much, Dana, and you guys.
If you're welcome.
In this book, there's the website. Make
Oh
sure
yeah,
it's
30 Days of Hope.
yes. And I
Right,
love
see,
that.
I'm always thinking about helping somebody. Look, I want to
Yes.
win. I want you to win. That's the
Yes.
formula.
Exactly. And usually as long as we operate from that, then we're fine. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Right, right.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you, sis.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
Okay, take care.
Yep. All right, y'all. So you've heard from these authors thus far in terms of what they've been dealing with or dealt with past tense if they're already published. But yeah, these are the real world solutions. Shamika said she in the process of retelling her story discovered something she hadn't processed yet. She discovered some childhood family trauma that she hadn't processed yet and hit the pause button and chose to go to therapy. And within weeks, she was back on track and was able to finish. You heard Unique in real time sharing what her challenges were. And just from what she heard shared tonight, like, hey, the first draft doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be. It just has to exist. You know what I mean? And as I mentioned, like with the word web, it was a start for her, and then she realized she needed to pivot. So let me speak to that really quick because that could lend itself to the perfectionism thing. If you had an idea in mind at the beginning of your rough draft process and you realize either in the research for the book or maybe you've discovered more about your target reader, maybe something shifted, or you've experienced something in your personal life that is causing you to pivot the thesis of the book a little bit, that's okay. Like, don't let that be the reason why you stop, or don't let that be the reason why you give up. I'll say that. Like, you'll need to pause because you'll need to regroup and tighten the message around the book, like refine the direction that the book is going to move in. So, you'll definitely want to pause and do that. But don't let that be the reason why you give up on the book altogether. Because like I started with this and like whatever, I don't feel like working on it anymore. Whatever. Like no, like take the time to do whatever additional work you have to make the pivot. The young lady I talked about earlier, Cecilia, she did that. Like over the course of the initial ideation process of her book was going to have three in-depth, detail-heavy frameworks. The first thing I said to her was, nope, pick one of these to focus on. The other two will be their own respective books. And she did. It took a little working through, but we were able to whittle it down and help her pick one to focus on. And now this book is well over 21,000 words. Like it's going to be a solid book. Like she printed it out the other day, actually, on Tuesday during the work session that I host every week. And single space, y'all. She just printed her rough draft on 8.5 by 11 paper, single spaced, 91 pages. I was like, ooh, your book about to be thick, thick. Like this is gonna be a good one. Because she's writing about financial freedom. Like she's teaching young folks and their parents how to walk in that path of financial discipline and stewardship to gain financial freedom. You know what I mean? So I expect her book to be thick, thick, not so thick that it's overbearing and discouraging to read, but thick enough that this is somebody who knows what they talk about. Okay. So very quickly, y'all, I want to introduce yet another very experienced author. we just had a conversation between yesterday and I believe last week because her book just launched. Shout out to the author and founder of Everybody Can Go, the lovely Jessica Holly. What's up, Jess?
Hey, hey, how are you?
How you doing?
Good, good. I'm like, when I'm called upon, here I am.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I wanted to get your take on the situation too, because you're somebody who, unlike a lot of people, like creativity is not something you struggle with. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you have a ton of ideas and you move at a very fast pace. So did you ever experience like a block or like a delay? Did you ever get stuck in the process of writing any of the books, the journal or the journals or the Everybody Can Go book? And if so, what was that like for you?
Absolutely. During the writing process, I did actually get stuck at the author activation weekend.
Mm,
Um, as you said, I have a lot of ideas. I move at a fast pace, so I'm y'all's resident flight attendant and pilot. So like it's all fast paced. Go, 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 go. A lot of ideas, and I'm also very demanding. So I got a lot of ideas, and I want to execute on everything. Even when I found myself operating in my strengths, I tell you guys all the time, my Achilles heel is I got to submit to ATC because my ATC is only a 10. So you're talking about looking at systems, you're talking about analyzing information, getting the very fine details. And what I found in my most recent manuscript, as I was writing, I had all of the ideas. I knew the points that I wanted to come across. But when I was looking at the order that I put it in so that I could paint the picture and tell the story, as a storyteller and as a coach, a consultant, as a teacher, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And where I got stuck was me trying to make it make sense on my own when
mm,
that's not how my mind thinks preference wise. My analytical skills work in a different area. My building systems, that it works in a different area for me, and within other wheelhouses. So when I was trying to synthesize all of the ideas that I had, I was looking at it and I'm like, no, this doesn't go like this. And what it did was I could have continued to write and just double down on, oh, well, this does need to be rearranged, but I'm gonna just do it anyway. But y'all know about my look, only God is perfect. And it's like right up under that, that I would love for that to be the level of my work. And so I was like, I have to stop and pause right here so that I can make sure as I tell the story that the points that I need you guys to learn from it and that you get from it, to make sure that if you're reading my book cover to cover, it has to make sense. It has to take you through not only the story but the lessons and the psychology behind it. But also, if you want to look at my table of contents and say, I'm not going to read the book cover to cover, I need to go to this specific subtopic, you still need to be able to go to the table of contents, go to that page. And if you need some of the prerequisite information, you can go the chapter or two before. Or if you want to read a little bit further, the rest of what you need needs to be like directly after. And so even though I have no shortage of ideas, sometimes the ideation stage, that by itself isn't enough. Writing a book does require a certain level of structure. And honestly, being an author, it does require all four of the personalities, of the behavior style elements. It does require all four of those categories, not just so that people can receive what you have written, no matter what their behavioral style preference is, but also so that you can be abundantly clear and so that your book is able to be usable by anyone who picks it up, not just people that communicate the same way that you do.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that because this brings me to a separate point, kind of related to the writer's block thing, but not exactly, which is your table of contents. Like I talked a lot about on yesterday's episode, I talked about having your story inventory at the ready so that you can plug the necessary stories into your outline, which would be your table of contents anyway. And I agree with what you're saying about people who are going to skim. Like not everybody's going to read the book cover to cover. They got to be able to skim. So if they go through your chapters, your table of contents, and see what you're writing about, they can jump to the relevant chapter and get what they need. And I just recently learned this because y'all, one thing I will never do is gatekeep. Okay. I learned from Dr. Myron Golden, who I'm currently in the middle of his Make More Offers challenge. One of those particular days this week, he shared about the chapters in a book or any outline that you're doing, whether it's a book or a speaking engagement. Put your points as complete thoughts or as complete sentences, not just as one or two words, but like the complete thought, because that'll make it easier for you as the author and the speaker, but will also make it easier for, in this case, the reader. It'll make it easier for them to skim and understand, like, oh, this chapter about to be about this. I need this. You know what I mean? It's more clear. So I appreciate you, sharing that. And I believe you did something similar in terms of the story inventory, like, because I
Mhm.
saw, girl, during the author activation, you had all them pages printed out. It was like, I was like, come on, ATC, that looks a little higher than 10. I'm just saying.
That's because I had to make sure that in my book I created the experience. And so in the book that I'm currently writing, the writing process is going a bit different than my first book, than my title book,
Mhm.
Everybody Can't Go, which is, available now. And that was part of where I did get stuck. Because of the way that I wrote Everybody Can't Go, I started my writing process on my current book following that same exact. I'm like, yes, this is how I use the framework the first time. I'm just gonna plug in but because I'm writing about a bit different of a subject, I was like, oh wait, no, the next book is a bit more complex, and it's taking you on a journey that has a heavy clinical background to it. And disclaimer: I am not a mental health professional. I am an advocate. And so, with me giving information from the clinical perspective, I am including the science, the citations. There is research included that I'm translating that for the reader so that you don't have to read the white paper. I read the white paper for you. I pull out the things that will be the notes for you. However, in writing, there is a very specific way that all of those, my citations, my quotes, any of the things that I'm telling you guys in the book, psychology says this, or the clinical professionals say this. In order for me to write that into my book, the research has to be done a certain way. It has to be written in a certain format, and throughout that process, so that I can make sure that my storytelling was seamless, I did have to follow a different process because of having the psychology backing behind what it is that I'm saying, and behind the lessons and the things that I'm drawing out. Like, yeah, I could have just written the book from Jessica said this. So here's Jessica's next book. Just listen to what Jessica say and then back it up with Jessica's podcast. Like, but what I wanted to do, because I speak about this often, there is a difference between coaching and working with a clinical licensed mental health care professional. And
Yep.
so I do deeply believe in making sure that I maintain, and this is no shade with recent events or whatever. I've always been this way about it. You can, before the little situation popped off, go to my episodes before that. I gave y'all the same disclaimer, so this is completely no shade. But I have always been a strong advocate of, you do need coaching, but you also should have a licensed clinician at least available to you if you so choose, or if you need to consult with one, because for some things, coaching alone isn't enough. And you
Hmm.
can't lean on a coach or a consultant in the same way that you would lean on a licensed clinician, because it is not the same thing. We are not teaching the exact same lessons. The way that the science is used is different. There is no
Different.
licensing board telling me how I'm able to teach you guys. I can teach however I want. What that means though is sometimes a coach can be teaching you some foolishness, and or because I am not a licensed clinician, the way that my lessons are applied in your life, you may need some help from a licensed clinician so that you're able to apply the lessons in the healthiest way possible for your specific situation, for your specific mental and emotional state. And sometimes, it goes beyond the coaching, and it's a twofold approach.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I appreciate you talking about that. By the way, let me share a couple of these comments here because some of our folks are still like chilling backstage and they're like cheering you as you're talking. Yes, our sisters, man, we love them. So Dana was saying, "Go Jesse." Unique was saying, like you were speaking her language because she had. To your point about clinicians, she just got a master's in social work, so like about to be
Congrats.
like like therapist in a minute. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Dana was saying very true in terms of like consulting with the clinician and understanding that the approaches are different and that there's an accountability that a clinician has that a coach doesn't. Like ET like talk about that a lot. He'll say like the public speaking thing, like there's no certification per se. Like you can just say you're a public speaker, right?
Mhm.
Versus some of these other occupations, you have to get certified in order to say that you qualify to do the job. So yeah, Dana and Unique are agreeing with you for sure, for sure. So I appreciate you, for sharing your experience with this. And like with the clinician thing, this does introduce another point as it relates to how to beat like a block that you're experiencing for you who are listening and watching. By all means, phone a friend in the process. Like if you know someone in your network or a connection that knows somebody else that can professionally speak to the topic in your book, bring that professional voice into the conversation in your book. That'll only add credibility to what you have on the pages. So by all means, like get them, like call your friends, family members, like, hey, do you know somebody who is certified in this, this, and this? If it's an attorney you're looking for, be like, hey, do you know somebody who practices this kind of law? Like Shamika, I don't know when I would ever necessarily need to write a book that lends itself to family law. But if I need to, I know I can call her to quote her on something because that is her area of expertise. If I need a counselor, I can call Dana or I can call Lynette. Like these are professional, certified, licensed mental health counselors. Like these guys know what they're talking about. It's about to be unique in a minute. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So, and on the subject of recovery, it's definitely unique because that has been her expertise all this time. Like she's been in recovery for many, many years. She's worked with folks who've been in recovery for many, many years. When it comes to accountability, I know I can call you because like that is your thing. Like, okay, you stuck. Why? Like, let's you know what I mean? Let's be demanded. Like, let's get you up out of here. So yeah, Jessica, thank you so much as
Of
always
course. Thanks
for
for
joining
having
the
me.
conversation. I look forward to this next book that you're working on because yeah, it's a subject that's universal. Like grief is a whole thing. So I look forward to
Absolutely.
it. All
See
right,
you
sis. I'll
guys.
release you to the rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right, y'all. Yes. So the one and only Jessica Holly in the building. And to jump back to Afia, because she did provide her feedback in terms of what her like delay was, what her kind of stoppage was. And she said she had to pivot. She was debating over, does she go with the plan or does she go with what God's purpose is? That's what she put in the comments. Do I go with the plan or do I go with what is his purpose? So I'm glad she shared that because I did, talk a few minutes ago about like pivoting and letting you know that that is okay. Like if you need to pivot, don't let that be a reason you give up on the book or stop altogether. Just acknowledge that you have to. And as I just mentioned with Jessica, phone a friend. Like by all means, bring in people that you trust into your conversation. Don't bring too many. because then you'll have too many opinions and start to get confused, and then that would become a delay. Like if there are too many people talking into your project or your godly assignment, the assignment is meant for you. This book is meant for you to execute, right? But by all means, like bring at least one other voice in. If it has to do with the actual difficult part of the trauma or the transition, and if that's the part that's giving you trouble, call a friend, like, or someone who maybe witnessed it at the same time you did, or was someone you spoke with after it happened or as you were going through it. Maybe you vented to them, maybe they were your safe space at the time, and you can ask for their perspective on the situation to give you fresh data as to how to think about it, talk about it, approach it when you come back to the pages. And they may share something with you that you didn't realize was happening, or maybe they saw a strength in you that you didn't realize you had at the time. Maybe they saw something positive, maybe not a strength, but they saw something positive in you as you were going through the thing that for you was so harrowing and emotionally difficult. That refreshing perspective can ignite another fire in you, like, oh, I didn't know that. Like that's cool. That's good to know. So, I hope that's helpful and beneficial for you if that's something that's been holding you up in your process with the draft. Shout out to the ladies who joined me on tonight's call: Dana Bell, licensed mental health counselor; Unique Dixon, my master's in social work. That's my sis. So proud. The recovering hot girl H.O.T. That is her framework. So I can't wait for that book to come out when it does come out. You're welcome, by the way, Unique. She said this was amazing. And yeah, like shout out to Jess for dropping the gems that she did. Like there is a difference in the credentials and accountability based on what you're talking about in your book. Since she knew this one was going to lean a lot more scientifically, she made sure to research the necessary format that would require. And by all means, that's something that you'll want to consider for your book, depending on how heavily scientific your book is going to need to be. If it's primarily a memoir, you're just writing a guide, it's you doing some research and just make sure that you're citing your sources properly. That's something your AI tool can help you with. That's not something you necessarily need to get delayed on either. Like, don't let that be your reason for pausing either. Like, there are plenty of free AI tools out there that can help you. Like the free version of Claude can help you with that. The free version of ChatGPT can help you with that. The free version of Perplexity.ai can help you with that. Okay. So don't let that be the reason that you're still choosing to be delayed. All right. Like I said, I pray that this was beneficial for you as you're going through your author journey. By all means, subscribe on YouTube at Getting the Win. If you're on IG, follow me at Getting the Win Show over there. And if you're on LinkedIn, just connect with me on LinkedIn, Melissa Thomas with 2 L's and 2 S's. All right. In the meantime and between time, I will see you again next Wednesday. So please subscribe, turn on your notifications, click that bell so that you can see all the notifications for my Wednesday episodes as well as the Thursday lives. Because as you can see, for interviews or deep dives into content or into material having to do with writing and self-publishing books and the process of healing through writing. And then the Thursday ones, as you can see, this is real time stuff. Like, I'm doing live coaching, I'm going over industry news. That'll be next Thursday. So next Thursday, something that you do. Talking about what's going on in the publishing industry, what are some things you need to know, how are these publishers doing with AI, what are they looking for, what are they going to block, all of that. I got you next Thursday. My next deep dive episode is Wednesday. Have a great rest of Thursday. And the rest of the week. Y'all.